In the temporarily occupied city of Mariupol, discontent is growing among the population. This is all due to the occupation authorities who are failing to fulfill their promises of a better life, but are only worsening the situation for the population. Locals are so dissatisfied with this that they've begun to riot. Petr Andryushchenko, director of the Center for the Study of the Occupation, reported on one of these riots on Telegram. Residents of Moscow Boulevard took to the streets and recorded a video message to Kremlin dictator Vladimir Putin after the buildings promised to be restored last year remained in ruins. The people who live there are now forced to live with relatives in other people's homes or even in basements. Therefore, they are demanding that Putin restore order in the so-called DPR. The rhetoric has changed. What was previously presented as a traditional petition now sounds like a demand. Almost. For the first time, the target of anger is not only the Mariupol administration, but also the DPR. This is the maximum evolution of protest that the population under occupation can now allow without an immediate visit from the FSB. Andryushchenko noted. Political and economic expert Taras Zagorodniy believes that conflicts between local authorities and the federal government are possible in Russia, meaning that it is the local authorities, not the people, who will confront the center. If there is no money in the local budget, if there is no way to support infrastructure, schools, public transportation and everything else, local authorities will have to answer for it because people will turn to the local authorities, not Putin. According to the expert, a similar situation developed in the Soviet Union when it began to collapse, when there was no money to support local elites and no money was coming from Moscow. Of course, there are still Russian deposits, another 60 trillion rubles, and the Russian government will still try to confiscate these deposits. It's already implementing mechanisms that prevent the population from withdrawing money from banks. This is being done with vague wording. If a bank sees transactions that it deems uncontrolled, it has the right to freeze the money. This phenomenon has become widespread, he explained. Zagorodniy also recalled that before the collapse of the USSR, a confiscatory monetary reform was carried out. Russia is still afraid to do this, but these processes are also underway, and as early as the first quarter of 2026, we will see big surprises in Russia that are already being prepared, he added. Another expert, Georgy Tuka, spoke about the chances of an internal rebellion in the aggressor state Russia. According to him, theoretically, a move by the highest circles is possible. However, in recent years, especially the last two, Putin and his entourage have systematically and quite effectively eliminated any dissent. As a result, there is virtually no real opposition left in the country.
A week after flash floods and landslides swept through Sikambang village of West Sumatra's Agam district, survivors are still waiting for news for their missing loved ones. Zahari Sutra, a father of 3 young girls, still clings to hope. According to Associated Press holding photos of his missing wife and 2 daughters aged 4 and 2-year-old, he pleads for help. "I've waited far too long. Other victims have been found, so why are my wife and daughter still missing?" Sutra is a farmer who lived with his wife and 3 daughters in Sikambang village, Agam, West Sumatra, a small community of a few dozen houses, most of which were swept away by the massive flood on November 27, 2025. He recalled that he had ridden his motorcycle to a shop about 2 kilometers from his home to buy diapers for his children. The weather was drizzling, with dark clouds hanging overhead. On his way back, he was blocked by rising floods as he approached the village. He tried to save himself by moving his motorcycle into a cornfield, he recalled. Worried about his wife and children, Sutra decided to wade through the floodwaters, which had risen to knee level. I forced myself to cross the water because when I shouted for my wife and children, no one responded. When I finally reached the village and began walking toward my house, just as I was nearing it, a massive surge of water came. I had to hold on until morning, he said. He pointed out the direction where the waters began to surge in the village. We stayed there until daylight, climbing up a rambutan tree with my eldest daughter and sitting on its branches. My parents-in-law couldn't climb and remained below, Sutra said. Sikambang, a green farming village, has turned into a wasteland of broken timber and shattered homes. Torrential rains unleashed a surge of mud and logs, sweeping through villages and erasing entire neighborhoods. Homes were reduced to twisted metal and broken walls. Roads have vanished, replaced by rivers of sludge.
Saya udah nggak tahan menunggu terlalu lama kan. Sedangkan korban-korban yang lain udah temukan. Kenapa anak istri saya tidak temukan? Itu makanya saya ikut serta dalam pencarian keluarga saya. Habis itu saya nyebrang karena orang rumah istri saya sama anak-anak saya panggil tidak nyaut. Makanya saya kejar ke seberang kan. Posisinya dari sebelah sana. Habis itu sampai di sini saya carilah istri sama anak-anak saya di pinggir rumah saya yang sebelah sana. Setelah itu tidak lama kemudian datanglah galodo yang besarnya. Yang saya tahan sampai pagi itu. Akhirnya datang dari sana, Bang. Menuju arah sini. Awalnya dia belum langsung ke sini. Ke sana dulu. Ke sana dulu. Setelah ke sana penuh, baru dia langsung ke sini.